The mold in my basement apartment has a smell. It's heavy, wet, and it settles in your lungs like dust. But that night, I couldn't smell it. I couldn't smell anything. The fever had burned everything else away. I was lying on my mattress, wrapped in 3 blankets that felt like sheets of ice. My teeth chattering so hard I thought they might crack. My phone screen was the only light in the room, glowing with a message I had sent 3 hours ago. Mom, please. I think I have pneumonia. I can't stop shaking. I need medicine. Please. I watched the 3 little dots appear, then disappear, then appear again. Finally, a single message popped up. Stop being dramatic. Bella, we're busy with Courtney's fitting. Figure it out. I stared at the words. They didn't hurt. That was the strange part. Pain requires energy. And I didn't have any left. I just closed my eyes and let the darkness take me. That was the moment I realized I wasn't a daughter to them. I was an inconvenience. An expired coupon they kept forgetting to throw away. Before I tell you what they did when they finally showed up, drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. I don't know how much time passed. It might have been 2 days. Maybe 3. The fever distorted everything, turning the hours into a long, gray smear. I woke up to the sound of pounding. Not a knock, but a demand. It echoed in my skull like a hammer. I dragged myself off the mattress, my legs trembling so violently I had to lean against the wall to stay upright. I made it to the door, my hand slipping on the knob because my palms were sweating cold fear. I opened it, expecting an ambulance. Maybe a landlord. It was my mother, Susan, and my sister, Courtney. They looked like they had just stepped out of a magazine photo shoot. Courtney was wearing a cream-colored cashmere coat that probably cost more than my entire car. And Mom had that fresh, polished glow of someone who slept 8 hours a night on high thread count sheets. The contrast was physical. They were light and gold. I was sweat and gray. God. Bella, Mom said, covering her nose with a manicured hand. It smells like wet dog in here. Do you ever open a window? She didn't ask how I was. She didn't touch my forehead to check for a fever. She didn't look at my eyes, which were sunken and rimmed with red. She looked past me, into the gloom of the apartment, judging the dust. We can't stay, Courtney said, checking her phone. We have a spa appointment in 40 minutes. And traffic is a nightmare. I brought you something, Mom said. She dropped a heavy black plastic bag at my feet. It hit the floor with a dull, crinkling thud. We were cleaning out the pantry this morning to make room for the caterers. I was going to throw this out, but then I remembered you said you were starving. So, you're welcome. We figured even you couldn't mess up ready-to-eat food, Courtney added with a tight smile. Okay. We have to go. Try to clean this place up. Bella. It's depressing. And just like that, they were gone. The door clicked shut, and I was alone again with the silence and the black bag. I sank to the floor. My hands shook as I untied the knot. I expected soup. I expected crackers. I expected anything that resembled care. I pulled the plastic open. Inside, it was a graveyard of snacks. Half-empty boxes of crackers that had gone soft. Bags of pretzels that had expired 6 months ago. A jar of peanut butter with only a scrape left at the bottom. It was trash. They had driven across the city to deliver their garbage to me and called it charity. Any rational person would have thrown it against the wall. Any person with a shred of self-worth would have dragged that bag to the dumpster and screamed. But I didn't. There is a specific kind of madness that grows when you are raised on scraps. It is an invisible chain that binds the survivor to the abuser. You learn, very early on, that love is not a right, it is a transaction. And you are always in debt. When you starve a dog long enough, it doesn't bite the hand that feeds it poison, it licks it. It learns to be grateful that the hand reached out at all. I sat there on the cold linoleum, tears streaming down my face. And I told myself they cared. They came. I thought they didn't have to come. But they did. They brought food. They are just busy. They love me. I reached into the bag and pulled out a bag of spicy tortilla chips. The expiration date was 3 years ago. I tore it open. The smell of stale oil hit me, but my stomach cramped with a hunger so violent it doubled me over. I put a chip in my mouth. It tasted like cardboard and dust. I chewed, and I swallowed, and I thanked them in my head for saving my life. I ate until the nausea passed, replaced by a dull, heavy shame. My mouth burned from the cheap spice, and my hands were coated in orange dust. I reached for the empty bag, intending to crumple it into a ball and throw it away, to hide the evidence of my desperation. That's when I saw it. Printed on the inside of the foil, barely visible under a smear of grease, was a block of text. It was faded, the ink rubbed thin by time and friction. Congratulations, you found the Golden Crunch ticket. Enter code at snackwin.com for a chance to win life-changing cash. I stared at it, my brain still sluggish from the fever. Couldn't quite process the words. It was absurd. It was a joke. This bag was 3 years old. The contest had probably ended before I even moved into this basement. The website probably didn't even exist anymore. But something, maybe delirium, maybe just the ridiculous irony of it, made me reach for my phone. I typed in the URL. To my surprise, the page loaded. It was a clunky, outdated site with bright, flashing graphics that looked like they belonged in the early 2000s. The Golden Crunch sweepstakes, it screamed. One grand prize winner has yet to claim the jackpot. Is it you? I looked at the code. 12 digits. Alphanumeric. My fingers felt clumsy as I tapped them into the little box on the screen. A 4F9Q. I stopped. What was I doing? I was sitting on the floor of a damp basement, sick and starving, entering a sweepstakes from an expired bag of chips my mother had thrown at me like garbage. It was pathetic. I almost closed the tab. But then I thought of Courtney's cream coat. I thought of the way Mom had covered her nose. I finished typing the code and hit submit. The screen went white. A little loading wheel spun, round and round. For 10 seconds. 20. Then, the screen exploded. Digital confetti rained down. Sirens blared from my phone speaker, loud enough to make me jump. Huge, bold letters filled the display. Congratulations, you are the grand prize winner. Jackpot total $20 million. I dropped the phone. It clattered onto the linoleum, the screen still flashing. $20 million. It wasn't possible. It was a scam. It had to be. I picked it up again, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I read the fine print. Valid winning codes must be redeemed by December 31st of the current year. I checked the date. It was December 20th. The bag. The trash bag. The bag they had thrown at me because they were too cheap to throw it away themselves. They had literally handed me $20 million because they thought I was worth less than a garbage can. I started to laugh. It was a jagged, ugly sound that hurt my chest. I laughed until I was coughing, until I was gasping for air, until I was crying again. But these weren't tears of shame. They were tears of shock, of hysteria, of realization. I recovered in silence. For the next 2 weeks, I told no one. I went to a lawyer, a man named Mr. Henderson, who worked out of a small, quiet office downtown. He verified the ticket. He contacted the company. He set up the trust. He looked at me over his glasses, his eyes kind but serious. You understand, Bella, he said, that once this money hits your account, everything changes. People you trust will change. I know, I said. I'm counting on it. When the wire transfer finally came through, I stared at the balance on my banking app. $20 million. It looked like a phone number. I was rich. I was free. And my family had absolutely no idea. 2 weeks later, the knocking returned. It was the same rhythm, 3 sharp, impatient raps that signaled they didn't have all day. I was sitting at my kitchen table, reviewing a portfolio of high-yield bonds my new financial advisor had sent over. I closed the laptop instantly. I checked my reflection in the microwave door. I looked healthy. The color had returned to my cheeks, and I had gained 5 pounds since I started eating real meals again. I quickly rubbed my eyes to make them look tired and slumped my shoulders. I wasn't ready to show them the new me yet. The old Bella, the broken, Desperate one was the disguise I needed. I opened the door. It was the full tribunal, Mom, Dad, and Courtney. They swept past me without a hello. Dad. Ronald. Went straight to the refrigerator and opened it. Frowning at the contents, Mom dusted off a chair with a grimace before sitting on the edge of it. You look better, Courtney said, sounding vaguely disappointed. At least you're not sweating everywhere. We need to talk, Mom said. She placed her designer handbag on the table, treating the surface like it was contaminated. Courtney's birthday gala is next week. We've run into a cash flow issue. A hiccup, Dad corrected from the kitchen. Liquid assets are tied up. We need $20,000, Mom said. She said it as casually as if she were asking for a glass of water. The venue in downtown Seattle requires a final deposit, and we need to upgrade the catering. The new neighbors from the penthouse next to ours are coming. We have to impress them. I stared at them. $20,000. 2 weeks ago. They had fed me expired chips because they wouldn't spend $5 on soup. Now they wanted $20,000 to impress strangers. I don't have $20,000, I said, my voice quiet. I work in a warehouse. Don't lie, Bella, Dad said, closing the fridge. We know you have that $401k you've been hoarding, and you can take out a loan. Your credit is fine. You want me to empty my retirement fund for a birthday party? It's an investment in the family brand, Courtney said, checking her nails. If I meet the right people, my influencer career takes off. Then I can help you. It's trickle-down economics. Bella, we fed you, Dad said, his voice dropping to a low, threatening register. When you were sick. When you were lying on this floor dying. Who came? We did. We kept you alive. You owe us. The air in the room seemed to freeze. We fed you. They were calling that bag of trash a life debt. They were weaponizing their own neglect. In the past, this was the moment I would have cried. I would have screamed about the unfairness of it all. I would have refused. Then crumbled under the guilt. Then handed over the money, just to make them stop looking at me with such disdain. But something had changed. I looked at them, and I didn't see my parents. I saw targets. This is the trap of toxic sacrifice. For years, I gave them everything, my time, my dignity, my money, hoping it would buy their love. It never did. It only bought their contempt. But now, I realized that sacrifice could be a weapon. If I refused them now, they would just leave. They would be angry. But they would move on. The story would end here. But if I said yes, if I gave them exactly what they wanted, I would own them. I needed them to be at that party. I needed them standing in the center of that expensive venue, surrounded by their rich friends, holding glasses of champagne, thinking they had won. I needed them to climb to the very top of the ladder, so that when I kicked it out from under them, the fall would be fatal. $20,000 wasn't a gift. It was the price of admission to the show I was about to direct. Okay, I said. Mom blinked. Okay, I'll pay it, I said. I'll call the bank tomorrow. But I have one condition. You can't tell anyone it came from me. I don't want people knowing I have money. Mom smiled. A predatory, satisfied curling of her lips. Oh, honey, don't worry. We weren't planning to mention you at all. The venue was a glass-walled masterpiece overlooking the Seattle waterfront. It cost $20,000 for 6 hours. And I knew exactly which account that money had come from. I arrived at the service entrance. As instructed. Mom met me there, holding a black vest and a white button-down shirt. She didn't look at my face. She looked at my shoes. Good. You wore black, she said. We're short on staff. The catering company sent one fewer server than we paid for. So, since you're here, make yourself useful. You want me to work at the party I paid for. Don't be loud. Bella. It's gauche, she hissed, shoving the uniform into my chest. Look, you don't fit in with these people. Courtney's friends are elevated. You just stand around looking awkward in your department store dress. This way, you have a purpose. You can contribute. Contribute? I had contributed $20,000. Now I was contributing my dignity. Fine, I said. I changed in a cramped utility closet. When I came out, I was no longer Bella the sister, the daughter. I was staff. I picked up a tray of champagne flutes and walked into the party. The room hummed with expensive laughter. Crystal clinked. Silk rustled. Courtney stood at the center in a silver gown, radiant and ravenous, collecting compliments like currency. A uniform makes you invisible. Guests stepped in front of me, handed me trash without looking up, and talked about investments. I drifted toward the VIP booth where Courtney and her influencer friends were holding court. This party is insane, one said. How did you afford the Skyline room? I heard you had liquidity issues. Courtney laughed sharply. Please. We have resources. Actually, you won't believe this. My loser sister paid for it. The one in the warehouse. Yeah. The one serving your champagne. She gestured vaguely at me. She emptied her retirement fund. Thinks buying me things earns her a seat. Sad, but the venue's paid. So who cares? They laughed. Glasses clinked. I wasn't sad. I was finished. I looked around the room. My mother charming strangers. My father ordering top-shelf scotch on my tab. Then I set the tray down. Texted my lawyer. It's time, and walked to the AV booth. I plugged in my phone. When the speeches began, Dad slurred a toast about family legacy. Courtney thanked our parents for making the night possible. I stepped onto the stage. The spotlight hit. The room froze. I took the mic from Courtney. I have a gift, I said calmly. From under the podium, I lifted a silver platter and told my father to open it. Inside lay a crumpled, greasy tortilla chip wrapper. That's what you gave me when I was dying, I said. 2 months ago. Pneumonia. I begged for help. You brought expired food and left for a spa. Gasps rippled. Then the screen behind me changed from Courtney's selfies to my bank statement. The balance glowed $20. 000. 000. That wrapper had a winning code. You threw away $20 million because you didn't care enough to use a trash can. Silence crushed the room. And this party, I added. I paid for it. Me. The loser sister. Not to buy love, but to buy this moment. I called my Aunt Patricia to the stage. She was the only one who came back when I was sick. I handed her a check. $1 million. Thank you for saving my life. Then I faced my parents. You invested in the wrong daughter. The bank is closed. I dropped the mic and walked out. I didn't look back. The fallout was absolute. Lawsuits collapsed. Reputations died. Courtney's influencer career imploded after the video went viral on my account. Not hers. Brands vanished. Apologies failed. 6 months later, I sit on a balcony in Malibu. I framed the wrapper. It hangs in my hallway. Money didn't change me. It revealed everyone. They thought I was worthless because I had nothing to give them. They were wrong. I was gold even when I was starving. The only difference now is the view. If you've ever had to buy your freedom from people who should have loved you for free, this story is for you.